What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on, NFL world? How you doing, Division Rivals? This is Steven Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel, the sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. All right, y'all, today's topic, as promised, guys, I said I'd do a video kind of discussing some of the deficiencies in depth on the football team. I think it's a team that if you lined up our starting 22, I feel pretty good about, but there are certain position groups, guys, where I do generally get concerned about the depth on this football team, mostly defensively. And I'll go into that a little bit, guys. So defensively, I think we're golden at defensive end. I really like what we have at defensive end. Defensive tackle worries me, man, because when you get down to Javon Hargrave, you get down to Fletcher Cox, those are really good football players, man. I mean, a lot of teams would love to have that combination. But Hassan Ridgeway, I don't know if he's fully back from injury yet, guys. I do see times where he's flashed in preseason. He's definitely more of an all-around versatile player. He's a guy I do anticipate making the roster, although I don't think it's a lock. He hasn't been the guy we've seen early in the 2019 and 20 seasons, before he got injured. You go past that, guys, and T.Y. McGill, NC State guy I'm really high on, right? Very good pass rusher. Not really that great against the run, guys. I mean, there's some deficiency there, and we're kind of struggling to stop the run. That's one thing I did pick up from preseason is that we got gashed a little bit in the running game, and I think it has a lot to do with our depth. Some other areas I'm a little concerned about. I mean, yes, you could always say linebacker, but I've actually been pleasantly surprised with the play of our linebackers. We'll see how the season goes, guys. I mean, preseason and training camp can be misleading sometimes. But past that, the other two areas I'm really concerned about is, with so many injuries in the safety position, right? You got Rodney McLeod, who did get activated today, so good to hear Rodney McLeod is activated. He will likely be active for week 1, is what I would assume. If not, he'll be back shortly afterwards. And then also, you got Kayvon Wiles, who's down with a couple of groins now. I think this is a second groin injury. So, I mean, the depth at safety is getting a little shaky here, and we don't really have that experienced third guy that we can just plug in and play. In addition to that, guys, we really need an outside corner that's got experience. I like Zach Mcpherson, but I mean, it's probably going to take him a little while to really get into the rotation and really feel comfortable with what he's seeing, what he's doing out there. Although I think there's tremendous talent with this young man. I think he's definitely a go-for-it type player. I mean, when I look at that, guys, the interior defensive line, having, a third guy at safety that just has a little bit of playing experience, and then, an outside, a third outside corner, it does worry me about what's on this team because I don't think the depth is that great defensively, guys. I definitely think the starting 22 is fairly good, but I'm worried about that depth. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I think we could always criticize or question the need potentially for a veteran wide receiver. But I'm going to get into that because I just don't like the options, guys. I took some time, guys. I looked through everything. I kind of hashed out all the rosters, and I came up with a few guys that I wanted to talk about, right? So I was combing through different articles. I was combing through different teams, and I was trying to find out who might get cut. And right from the jump, if we're looking for a third corner, there were some intriguing names listed. Although, I'm curious here, right? Two big names. Joe Hayden of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who would immediately be probably one of our top two corners. And then Bradley Roby of the Texans, who I think Bradley Roby, if he'd be willing to accept the role and take a lot less money, he'd be an intriguing third outside corner. I don't know if I'd want him necessarily starting, per se. But intriguing third corner. Certainly got more experience than guys. The problem is Joe Hayden, even in his base salary, it's $9 million, guys. Or I think it's $7 million, I'm sorry. But Bradley Roby's base salary is $9.5 million. There's no way we're going to trade to take on that kind of base salary for those guys. I hope not, at least. I shouldn't say there's no way because I don't run the office, you know what I mean? But that's just crazy to me. I wouldn't do that. So what I had to do here, guys, is I had to kind of search through it. And I was like, okay, what team could we watch for and see something happen? The first one I went to was an interdivisional foe here, which is the New York Giants and Josh Jackson, who they got off of Green Bay, former second-round pick. He's a guy that, given the fact that the Giants spent some draft capital this year in the secondary, he's a guy that could be a cut. He could be a casualty of that draft status. So, I mean, Josh Jackson, I think, makes an interesting third corner. He's nothing special, guys. I mean, there's a reason why he'd be available. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know that anyone on our roster is necessarily an upgrade over him initially. I do think Zach Mcpherson will turn out to be better than him over time, but, as an initial guy to kind of help you get through some reps and help out there as a third corner, it makes sense to me. The other thing I looked at was Minnesota, guys. Minnesota's got, Patrick Peterson and Bashad Breeland, Mackenzie Alexander, Harrison Hand, Cameron Dantzler, Chris Boyd. I think one of those guys could come, they could potentially come available, whether it's through trade, whatever avenue. One of them gets cut. Chris Boyd's not incredibly experienced, but he's got some experience playing in the league. He's a younger guy. I mean, I could see us maybe taking a shot there. He's coming from Minnesota, so he's going to have some idea of the scheme. Cameron Dantzler's another young guy that maybe he's not happy with the role there. Harrison Hand. I mean, some of these guys could play the outside, but they have played a little bit more on the interior. Those are guys I think are worth looking at. Maybe a Bashad Breeland gets beat out in camp, guys, and he's no longer their number 2 corner. Maybe he gets pushed off the roster. I mean, that's the other aspect of this thing, right? Is I would look at a team like Minnesota and either try to negotiate something there because they got a situation with Stephen Weatherly, who's supposed to be kind of a rotational guy for them at defensive end. And they're not too thrilled with Stephen Weatherly right now. So I mean, maybe you could get one of our young guys that we drafted late that's kind of shining. Maybe you're scared that if you cut them, they're going to get claimed anyways. Maybe we can get draft value out of them. It's not ideal. I like Teron Jackson a lot. I like the guys we have on roster. I'd rather keep them personally. I'd rather try to work out a pick status or something in return, a lesser player for some of these guys. But it kind of is what it is there, guys. But, I mean, that's kind of the options I see at corner. Hopefully there's some surprise cuts that nobody sees coming, but I didn't see anything reported outside of those said players. Safety. When I looked at safety, there's only really 2 guys that seem to have a really high probability of being cut that's being mentioned, referenced in a lot of articles, guys. And number 1 is Carolina Panthers, Justin Burris. I think he'd be a really good third corner for the Eagles. I do think that makes sense. I mean, Justin Burris is only 27 years old. He didn't have the greatest 2020 season, but Justin Burris is a capable third safety kind of rotational guy. I would be okay with that. The other one is Landon Collins, who's never really been healthy with Washington. I mean, he's got a 6-year, $84 million contract he signed with them. He only played in 7 games he tore an ACL, so he's coming back from an ACL just like McLeod, but the distance in time is a lot further than McLeod's. So, I mean, maybe a Landon Collins becomes available, and maybe you can get him in a role. I don't know if Landon would accept a third safety role, but maybe he could. I don't know that he could beat out McLeod, to be honest with you, if McLeod's healthy. But if he could, then you could always use McLeod as that third safety. He's a veteran guy that's been on the team. He knows what Philadelphia is about. He knows he's going to play a lot as a third safety. Past that, guys, I kind of took a look and I took a venture through the draft picks. And this is what I came up with, guys. We had Miami drafting Javon Holland with the 36th overall pick. And that interests me because they had 2 guys on that roster that strike me as being guys that could potentially come open, depending on their satisfaction with the roles they're going to play. One of them is 23-year-old Brandon Jones, which if he's the third safety, maybe he wants a shot at more playing time, right? Maybe he wants a shot at trying to win that second job. Maybe he wants a shot at a future there. The Eagles, Ronnie McLeod and these guys, they're only on 1-year deals and they're older guys. Then I look at Eric Rowe, former Eagle guy. He's 28. He might be the third safety there. He might want a starting role, and I do think that Eric Rowe could fill in as a second, third safety kind of role here in Philadelphia. So I do look at a team like Miami, and I think you could either play a waiver wire game with a release, see if they release any of these guys, or you could try to trade for them, guys, because truth be told, I think one of those 2 guys is not going to be happy with the role with Javon Holland coming in, assuming Javon Holland beats those guys out for starting roles. I mean, that's a big part of it. The other team I kind of looked at, guys, is yes, Richie Grant went to Atlanta with the 40th pick, but we play them week 1. The chance of them trading to upgrade our roster to play them week 1 seems pretty slim to none, guys. But I will say that Jacksonville, we have Caldwell in our office who worked in the front office with Jacksonville, now with Philadelphia. Look, they drafted Andre Cisco in the 3rd round, the 65th pick. He's a really good player at Syracuse. I was really high on him. They got Cisco there. They got our old friend Rudy Ford there as kind of their 3rd, 4th safety, special teams ace kind of player. They got Rayshon Jenkins there, who's got 32 career starts. He's only 27 years old. He's a guy I would have a lot of interest in as a 2nd or 3rd safety. Josh Jones, former NC State guy, former 2nd-round pick. Never really lived up to it, but he's a physically gifted guy, 6'2", 210-ish, 215. I've seen his list as high as 220. He's a thumper, man. He's physical. He plays well. Plays physical. It doesn't say we play well. He plays physical. He's got 25 career starts. He's a guy I think makes some ton of sense as a 3rd safety personally. They also have Daniel Thomas there. He's a younger guy. He played at Auburn. He got into a couple games last year. If they were looking to go the younger route, I think he would make some sense. I mean, he's not a veteran presence, but he might give you another younger guy you could play around with. I mean, that made some sense to me. And then the other team I want to go look at is the fact that the Las Vegas Raiders drafted 3 safeties. One of those guys is probably going to be converted to linebacker. I don't know their situation completely, but Divine Diablo, the kid from Virginia Tech, he just seems like a guy you'd convert into, kind of a rover, kind of safety high, linebacker hybrid role. But they also drafted Tavon Morig with the 43rd overall pick in the second round, guys. Obviously, they drafted Diablo with the 80th pick overall. I think that was the 3rd round. They came back in the 4th round and took Tyree Gillespie. Then you look on who do they have already on staff there. They have Jonathan Abram, who I would love to get my hands on as a 24-year-old, right? I mean, I'm sure they have visions of having Abram with, Travon Morig and Tyree Gillespie in their safety rotation, I'm sure. But if one of those guys aren't happy or, Abram starts to lose ground to Gillespie or Holland, I mean, he makes a ton of sense. The other guy they had there, guys, a little bit, I wouldn't call him an older vet, but he's a guy who's 27 years old, man. It's Carl Joseph. Carl Joseph's been in the league for a little while. He's got some experience playing in the league. I think he'd make a good third safety here in Philadelphia. I mean, I look at a guy like Carl Joseph who could quickly become a 4th safety and really have a reduction in his playing time as the season went on. He might see the writing on the wall there, and maybe he would want an opportunity to come to Philadelphia where he probably has a better shot at sticking as a third safety this year and having an opportunity to even become a starting safety again for the Eagles the following year, at least be that third safety, wouldn't fall too far down the depth chart. So, I mean, when I look at safety guys, those guys all kind of popped up to me. These were guys that I saw. These are guys that I took notice of. Interior pass rushers gets a little interesting, guys. So I'll give you guys some trade targets to begin with, right? The Baltimore Ravens, Brandon Williams, they're trying to get out from that $12.9 million they would owe him on the year, but his base salary is only like $1.5 million. Guess because $11 million of his salary is in a prorated bonus. So they might be willing to take a June 1st, trade hit on him and be able to dish that hit up over 2 years. Maybe Philly can get involved. I mean, he's a veteran guy, 32 years old. He'd be a good third role guy, Past that, guys, you have a slightly younger player out there in Jacksonville, Tavon Bryan. He's a former first-round pick. He hasn't quite lived up to the hype. He's got a $1.8 million base salary. He's only 25 years old, like I said, guys. Jacksonville, we know the connection back to Jacksonville with Caldwell in our office. So, I mean, he makes some sense to me as a third kind of defensive tackle if we go that route, guys. Past that, you got veteran guys like Nick Williams of Detroit. He's only got like a 1.25 million, 1.3, somewhere in that area, guys, base salary. He's an older guy. He's, 33-year-old, 31, 32, 33, somewhere in that area, guys. He's over 30. I think I went way too high. I don't think he's 33. I think he's only 31, to be honest. But Nick Williams makes some sense as a third. He could be your third kind of pass rusher there. Or not pass rusher, I'm sorry, guys. Your third interior defensive lineman. I think he would be an upgrade over what we currently have. Past that, guys, you could go play the cuts, see if anyone gets cut here. Linville Joseph clearly wouldn't face the waiver wire because he's clearly a vested veteran. He's 33 years old. In the twilight of his career, guys, I don't think you're going to trade to take on that $5.5 million contract, but 33-year-old, get him in the third defensive tackle rotational role here. Maybe Linville Joseph can kind of, renew himself here. Maybe he could turn into something, guys. I mean, those were some intriguing prospects I saw on the interior pass, kind of defensive depth chart there. I would keep an eye on them personally, guys. I'm not going to say anything's going to happen there, but possibility, right? There's a possibility there. Guys, I looked at the receivers for the veterans. Unless someone gets cut in the next day or two that we're not expecting, it's not a good list of guys. I mean, look, I'll give you the cream of the crop here. Jamison Crowder, Larry Fitzgerald, Golden Tate, Dez Bryant, Danny Amendola, Alshon Jeffrey, Brashad Perriman, Julian Edelman. It's just not a great group, guys. Devin Funchess, Josh Gordon. It's not a great group out there. I mean, I know people like Larry Fitzgerald. He's 38, guys. I don't know how much is left in Larry Fitzgerald's tank at 38. I don't mind hiring him as a coach, guys. I don't think it's worth wasting a roster spot for a guy that you got to question 38 years old, man. I love the guy. I do. But I can't see that, guys. Golden Tate's 33. I do think Golden Tate is an intriguing one, but, Golden Tate's more of an interior guy. He's more of, a slot. I don't know what I don't know how much he's going to help the Eagles, to be honest with you. I don't know how much more he's going to give us over Greg Ward Jr., even though I think he's better than Greg Ward Jr. I don't know that it's a massive upgrade. Dez Bryant, if there's anything left in the tank of Dez Bryant, I haven't seen it recently. He hasn't looked that great in his comebacks. I mean, look, Dez Bryant was once a really good boundary side receiver, and that's really what we need. You know, you put a Dez Bryant in there as a boundary side receiver. Yeah, then you got your younger guys, right? You can go for deep potentially if there's anything left. But I guess the thing you can question is Dez Bryant at this point in his career going to give you anything more than J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, or Travis Fulgham? I think that's the other side of the coin, and guys, and I don't know that he does at this point, right? Josh Gordon, talent-wise, yes, it's still there. A lot of personal stuff going on with Josh Gordon. I think I'd steer clear of that situation, guys. Brashad Perriman's more of a speedster. A little bit of a one-trick pony there. Devin Funchess had his moment in the sun at one point. I don't know if there's anything left of Devin Funchess. I think that's a guy you work out and then you have to make a decision on. I don't know. Danny Amendola's 36, guys. I mean, I still think you could separate and everything, but chances of that guy getting through a 17-game season, I don't know, guys. Alshon Jeffrey, I hate to say it, might still be the best bet here. And we all know how that played out in Philadelphia. I mean, I don't know if that's the greatest idea, guys, although he's definitely one of the leading candidates on this list. Maybe someone else pops up, guys. I mean, I don't know. That's the thing, is I can't predict it. It's really, I think wide receivers are a little bit more tougher to predict than other ones just because of the money that gets guaranteed to these guys. It's a little harder to get free of them, a la Alshon Jeffrey, what happened to Philadelphia there. I still think that if you were going to do this and you needed a veteran guy, the right choice probably was Djax, although he's been injured, and it's been a complete waste of money. He got paid a little too much by the Rams, in my opinion, although if he stays healthy, he's going to make a difference there. But if you could have gotten Djax back here for a very friendly, hometown discount veteran deal, sure. But I don't think it was going to happen. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all's time and attention, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next video. Keep me informed, guys. Let me know if you hear of anybody getting cut, anyone that intrigues you at those positions, guys. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.